What's up, everybody? Bathrobes on, coffee's poured up. Let's get back into the charts. It's been a little bit since the last time we talked, around a week. And in that week, we have seen a whole lot of price action. Let me switch our screens here. I have the wrong screen on, I believe, right now. Nope, you guys got the right one. Okay, now you can see. I was trying something out with like a starting screen. It didn't go so well. What is up, Addy? How are you? What's up, Gert? How's everybody doing? Let's look at this just generalized as a macro chart first, guys, and then we'll walk through this together. Okay, I want everybody to be able to reconstruct the Bitcoin chart later in time, or at least be able to understand kind of the page that we're on here. So far we have seen a strong move up on Bitcoin. And let's just talk about some classical analysis first before we get into any kind of talks about Bitcoin and the Elliott wave realms, right? So first, let's just talk classically, and then we'll talk about Elliott wave. So far down, when we place a retracement from the high to the low, we can see that Bitcoin has found resistance at the 0.236 and is now starting to build a base off of it, yes? If this continues, the next area of interest for us is going to be the magnet, aka the golden pocket in the world of trading, right? One thing that I am interested in currently is how price action is kind of building a little bit of a W bottom with a back test here per classical analysis, right? And to find those technical targets, we just get an average of this area, yes? So we measure an average from the middle to the breakout, around 18% it gives us for a technical target. Move that up, and you only want to measure from where your highs were broken out of, yes? So that gives us around 89,000, yes? So if this is true and people are continuing to short Bitcoin, there's a good chance they might get burnt here locally, just based upon some classical analysis things that we can look at. These are really easy for you to replicate onto your chart. Again, the first thing that I highly recommend we all get on our charts is a retracement fib placed from the highs to the lows. That can be found in your third tools down on your trading view under the Fibonacci retracement. I also highly recommend you make this one of your favorites because it's a tool you'll be able to use often in your journey doing analysis, yes? All right, so now that we've talked about the basics of this downtrend, let's talk about what we may be seeing, yes? So when we look at trends, we place a channel from high to low. When price action leaves that channel, that's another thing that starts stacking the odds for the bulls, yes? And guys, if you wouldn't mind in the chats, do you think 80K plus is coming next? Or do you think we're going to lose 70K first? I would love to hear you guys' thoughts in the chats. All right, let's keep the party going. So in classical analysis, when you leave a downtrend or a channel of price action that's channeling downward, even finding this support off of the center line when you place your channel in 3 points of contact. So high to low. After that, you're looking for validation that the channel has interactions that are valid. We get this typically by the interactions here at the center line, as you can see. Yes? And the lower trend line after 3 points of connection. So this is really amazing because we do get great validation and interactions here that tell us this is a very valid channel. Now, price actions found itself out of the channel. I would not be surprised if we gave this a back test, yes? We'll get to that more as we move into the stream on the lower time frames. But for right now, let's just approach this on a daily, okay? The next thing that I think that we all should have on our charts is kind of the areas of liquidity that were left behind, right? So let's map those out together. We're going to go from the high down, and we're going to see how those areas of liquidity left behind line up with the Fibonacci retracements, right? So this way, a trader is able to have two edges or two tools to assist them in trading moving forward. And I'm just making these again and again. You'll see me make them from the wick to the wick of the liquidity that's left behind in this long displacing candle. So let's put another one on. We'll go from the wick of the blue candle to the wick of the gray candle and just slide it across horizontally. And again, we'll draw these again and again because they're going to be super important to map out going forward. So originally you could see that the gap is here, right? On the daily. Yes, so the daily liquidity that was left behind from the wick to the wick, not counting the displacement. That displacement is what created that internal liquidity left behind. The next thing that we should be looking at is how those zones are interacted with according to price action going forward, right? So we just pop them on, and I promise you these zones work like a charm, right? So they're going to tell you the whole story of what we need to be watching going forwards, right? We can already see ourselves starting to interact with this daily internal fair value gap here, right? By that I mean you moved into the liquidity left behind from wick to wick in the displacing area, and we've only created wicks into it, right? No acceptance was made because a daily candle never found closure within the gap left behind. Because of this, we have to continue to monitor Bitcoin on the lower time frames to see where it may be going, right? But the most important thing is to understand this macro. All right, so now that we've talked about the macro downtrend here through a classical analysis lens, let's delete everything and just talk really quickly over some Elliott wave paths and how those might play out on the daily and weekly moving forward. Yes? The first thing that we have to consider is that there is a possible move here to the downside that is done. By that, we mean an Elliott wave, a 5-wave motion to the downside, right? So anytime we get a 5-wave motion to the downside, we start looking for corrective movements towards the upside. If you hear a lot of snoring in the background, that's my dog. Her name's Beatrice. She is a beautiful little English bulldog, and she loves to snore and wrestle during every stream. All right, we can see that this high was created after the 0.382 trend-based fib time. Because of that, we can count this as a valid high in a correction that could be over. Yes, so that's one thing to keep in mind. So in the bear market, there's two things that we got to be looking out for here. One is this is 5 waves down in A, potentially that a B wave's over, and you make a much scarier leg to the downside as a partner leg. I don't side with this just yet, right? Just because of the things we've talked about from the classical standpoint so far. Yes? Now, if we were to say this is worst case, bearish scenario, where would that bear market go if it topped here, right? That would be taking Bitcoin down to around 37,765 to 28,419. Now, for right now, I think that's a little bit of bear bait, right? That's a little bit of kind of bullshit. I'm not leaning that way just yet. We'll get into that as we move further in the stream. Why I'm potentially still locally bullish, yes? And what I'm watching for. Sorry, I needed a sip of the latte. All right. The other thing that we could be talking about here is that the B wave did not top yet, right? Because B waves like to take their sweet time. It's like a slow song. Around an average 2 in time. That means you could see this B wave grind out until October 10th in a bullish manner. Does that mean it has to take that long? No, these are just estimates, correct? So if we're looking for a B wave up, those B waves typically always make the 382 retracement, which it has nearly. I would say you've licked it, you just missed it. But I would say we typically get a little bit more. So we may or may not get it, but we'll be watching. Now, if we go in, we talk about this B wave taking longer in time. How could it do that? You could have 3 up in an A, Make 3 down in a B, that comes to a 90%, if not expands to new lows before making a C leg up. This would create a lot more time in correction. This would create a lot more pain for the market, right? So we have to keep in mind, nothing's as easy as a straight line in price action, right? Oftentimes, these things are made to go up and down to clean out both sides of the market before a true move comes, right? So again, this is still the daily, so these are scenarios that could take quite some time to play out. But I would like to say, I do think that was the all-time high for the bearish trend in that market. Okay? We'll continue to talk about this as we zoom in on time frames. All right, let's clean this up and just go talk about this daily trend that Bitcoin has found itself caught in this accumulation zone, and talk about kind of just the basics of ranging and what we're seeing now. Go to the 8 hour. We can see when we placed a box on this range to show us the lows and highs and interactions from low to high, Bitcoin found a lot of support at the center line of that range before finally using it as a way to break upward. Now, the things that made us bullish down low are the same things we're going to be looking for up higher, right? So the reason we got bullish down low was a 3-wave pullback. And we talked the whole time saying again and again and again, we're looking for at least a 90% retracement upwards, right? Meaning this 888 level or 90%. Well, Bitcoin gave just that, barely got to the highs and didn't hit the most common retracements of a B wave, meaning the 105, if not 1.236 through 1.382. When we're analyzing this range here, something that we could keep in mind, and I might be having to admit a little bit of defeat here because I thought we would get another good pull down, was that what if this was an ugly diagonal to start the move towards the upside? What if this was 5 up and 3 back, right? And the thing about this 3 back is it doesn't come to its minimum 382 in time. It puts a low in just before it. It's not a rule break, but it is a probability shift point. So maybe the low was in, and this is starting a new trend towards the upside as a partner leg to this, right? So that's something to consider. Now, if my scenario holds true, where this is 3 down in A, a very choppy 3 up in B, and then you're coming down in C, we would start to get a very strong displacing movement, right? That would mean this could potentially be the local highs, and we'll continue to zoom in and talk about that also. All right, so that's one thing to consider. The other thing that we want to consider is, what if I'm wrong, the low is in, and you're making 5 off of the lows, right? Then you might have to say that you're looking for a local A into a B that comes up in a C wave. Now, has the C wave topped? We don't know yet. We'll talk about this as we get deeper into the stream. There's a chance it may have, but there's a chance it may not have. Man, how you guys all doing in the chats? Oh, we got a lot of 80Ks still. A lot of people pushing the 80K still. We'll get into that as the stream goes. This local price action will help us determine if we're going to get that 80K or not, and we'll talk about that as we go. All right, so when we talk about ABCs to the upside, let's get rid of these retracements. Often they are made in a corrective manner, meaning using the extensions from low to high to low. Whenever we place that extension in a C wave, we look for typical minimum targets of 1 through 1.382. Now I want you to see how this kind of leads us into those internal fair value gaps we talked about earlier, and we're going to refine those now because we're on an 8 hour, but how those align with current price action and how our interactions have been with them so far will tell us a lot about what to expect moving forward. Jess? Let's get these bad boys all on here. All right, so you're going to notice you have a lot of internal liquidity sitting above us on the 8 hour, right? On the last 8-hour liquidity left behind from wick to wick, drawn as an internal fair value gap, you can see that you made acceptance in that internal fair value gap, right? There's a strong chance we come back up and move through it, right? Acceptance in a gap often leads to weakness of the gap, creating a move above it to get more of that liquidity out, right? Not only that, but you have an order block clump sitting back here with another internal fair value gap. You would be taking out the external liquidity left behind and moving all the way through the internal. That would be my bias right now. Would be more so to the longs locally, right? Now, another thing that we're going to add to this analysis is a really classical tool. Everybody loves to use them. It's a channel, a base channel applied in the Kennedy channel method, placed from low to high. You're going to notice after 3 points of connection, we can see great interactions, right? So we have low to the high as 3 points of connection. After the 3 points of connection, we look for what, guys? We look for amazing center line reactions to validate the channel. Now look where you're at. No man's land, right? We're not at the center line. We're not at the tops. I would be amazed to see a rejection in the middle of nowhere, right? I would rather see this try to push up and go for the top end of the channel, right? And we'll talk about that more. So not only are we biased to move up again due to the channeling techniques employed by Jeffrey Kennedy, but we're also kind of liquidity biased towards the upside, as well as the trend-based fib extensions for the minimum C wave target in an ABC to 82,317. So do keep in mind, we could really see some strong moves up from Bitcoin, right? Where are you guys in the chats all coming from today? What countries you guys, what countries are you popping in from today, dudes? I tell you what, I got a Mexico vacation on my mind right now. And all I can think about is the tropics. I am ready to get out of here. All right, so locally we'll continue to watch for this ABC to the upside. Now, what if, let's play devil's advocate here. What if I'm wrong and we're going to make much stronger motions towards the upside, right? The first indication of that would be a strong displacing motion that breaks the top of the base channel, right? We want to see something punch through the top of that base channel with a really strong, impulsive, displacing movement, along with volume coming in, right? So if you haven't noticed, volume has been quite pathetic. Yes? Nothing really has been going on. You're not baiting in the longs, you're not baiting in the shorts. It's not strong enough. No one's giving it a direction. It's just a range to clean out everybody. Does that make sense? So, if this is true, what we have to be aware of is that at some point the real movement is going to come back, right? My only fear, guys, and we'll talk about this again really quickly, my only fear here is for a bearish movement, right? So my only fear is that the B wave is not over yet. The C wave to the up has not begun. We're going to delete this and some of our squiggles. We're going to keep our liquidity because it's quite important. The biggest concern would be that we're completing some sort of 3 waves down in A and a really choppy B wave, and then you push down in the C. Now, we're going to zoom in on a couple time frames here and talk about these highs and what's kind of biasing us away from that scenario now. We'll delete everything so we can see clearly. So this is going to pertain more for the traders out there who are looking for longs and shorts, right? And looking for biases. So the first thing we like to see is 3-wave pullbacks that create hidden bull divergences on the RSI. When that occurs, that means that you're making lower lows on RSI, but not on price action. So let's go look at our RSI. We have a low here in the uptrend, a low there in the uptrend, and now our low on our RSI and our low and price action are differing, meaning we have local lows on RSI, but not on price action. When that occurs, that leads to a hidden bull divergence, which often leads to movements towards the upside, right? So we could be biased to say that this could be a local correction here. And if so, how could it be handled moving forward? Well, this is where I think it gets dicey, yes? So you would be saying that this is an A, B, and going down in a C, right? Wave 2s don't typically retrace 90+% of their prior movement. With this being a spot Bitcoin exchange chart, I really am biased to trust this, right? I'm going to be trust to say that this local high is going to be taken out, that it wouldn't be a perfect double top like that, and that we are going to reverse and take the liquidity left above here. Yes? Now, traders moving forward have to understand that we are kind of getting in a little bit of a danger zone, though. Let's get this on here. We are between the extensions of 1 through 1.382 still, right? But so far, this hasn't made a notable reversal point yet, right? Candlesticks are trying. They're trying to form a pivot. It would be nice to get a bullish hourly engulfing that gets you back into the internal fair value gap left behind from the breakdown so that we could start to talk about following movements towards the upside. In classical analysis, if we apply the channel using the Jeffrey Kennedy method of a flat from the 0 point to the potential 4 of the C down to the lows of A, we can see that we're trying to start to find local support, but we're still in where? The middle of nowhere, right? We have no interactions yet to validate the channel at the center line, and we have not made the lows yet. So a large part of me would be biased to say that you may continue that push to the downside locally, right? Nothing here so far is saying it's over. The other thing that I want us to take notice of is a large punch of volume, right? My concern is that those occur during a wave 3 and they occur at the end of a correction, i.e. in an ABC, right? So that C wave typically ends on high volume. Those C waves 80% of the time like to find the 1 through 1.382 and form a reversal. Now, on the low time frames, you have to see one of two things to call a reversal. Yes, and we're going to talk about those really quickly. The first one is a structure known as the 1, 2, and Elliott wave. So 1 into 2, 1 into 2, they typically get smaller, leading to a breakout, which is 3s into 4s, and a final 5th. So far, that's your main only hope here. Excuse me. Because of the choppiness created. Yes? Now, other than that, you're looking for a common move in Elliott wave, which is displacing, right? So chop in the beginning, chop at the tops, displacing section in the center. That's all we need to be concerned about. We have to keep it simple, stupid. Yes? So currently, the other thing traders are looking for is higher highs and higher lows. Yes? Another thing they should be watching on the local lows is what, gang? Lows were created with regular bull divergence. So that means candle closures, i.e. the flats, had lower closures and higher closures on RSI. When we see that occur, that's known as a regular bull divergence on the RSI, right? Not only did that occur, but look what else we see. High selling volume, and selling volume falls off as it moves into the next lows. That's a momentum divergence. There is a chance of a local reversal here, and we'll continue to watch this throughout this stream. But what bulls are looking for is higher highs and higher lows. They need to break past those highs and make another high and continue to build steps towards the upside. All right, So that's basically everything I have on Bitcoin. And as in-depth as we are going to go on it. Over the next coins, we're going to cross over them a little vaguely and quickly as we are 25 minutes into the stream. But as always, gang, every week on Mondays, we cover Bitcoin, Ethereum, and your altcoin requests. So if you don't mind at this point in time, guys, go into the chats, put in your altcoin request. If you've already put it in higher up, please put it in again. Tell me as much detail as you can, whether this is you wanting to buy spot, get into a leverage position, what time frame you're looking for, and what the coin is. If it's a DEX screener coin or a low cap coin, please let me know so that I can cover that on the proper exchange. All right, let's move into Ethereum and we'll go from there and check your chart requests when I'm done with that. For Ethereum, we're going to remain on a macro view. I am bullishly biased as I own spot in Ethereum. I talk about this every single stream. Nothing has changed. For now, I am biased to upside on Ethereum. Now, I want to remind you again, this is a spot trade that I took. I show my entry clearly on the screen. From entry, it's not up a ton, right? This isn't some right home to mom, how you were successful thing. Up 24% on spot, still a great return on investment at this point, even if you were to close it. But overall, looking for the 1 through 1.382 levels on Ethereum, noted as 5.3 thousand to 6.7 thousand on Ethereum. The risk is clearly shown as invalidation at the local lows of the pivot, right? So for now, guys, we're staying bullish on Ethereum, or at least I am, and we will continue to cover this as we move forward. You know, continue tuning in, and we'll keep you updated. All right, guys, let's go catch up with the chats, see what we have going on, see what you guys' chart requests are, and say hello to the people who have stuck around this far. This is the part of the stream where we get into your altcoin requests. We bring the fire like we did last week. Last week we covered Tau. It made amazing returns since then. We'll see if it ends up in the chart request pile again, but let's get the party going. All right, so far we have done Bitcoin on the micro and macro. We've done Ethereum. And now let's move into your chart requests. What's up, Andy? What's up, Six? What's up, Dr. T? Hello, Gert. Man, everybody's in the house today. Mina, how are you? Nice to see you back again, Miss Gratitude. How are you? 80K, huh? You still believe it or do you not believe it? And what levels make you biased towards 80K? For all you other 80Kers in the house, what makes you biased to say Bitcoin goes to 80K also? I'd love to hear it, what you're watching out there. All right. What's up, Marco? How are you? Andy, how are you, my dude? Man, everybody's having a good evening. Everybody's popping in. All right. Beatrice. Yeah, Beatrice loves snoring during the streams. Don't mind the goofy bulldog snores. What's up, Volcom Sith? How is everybody? How are you, Stank? Nice to see you back, buddy. All right. All right. Stank is our first chart request. If I miss one, let me know. But Stank looks like he gets it again. And that is JASMY. We've been covering this every week through our live streams for Stank. Nice to know, dude. You're from Slovenia. Man, all the tasty food's coming from out that way, man. All right. Stanko's your neighbor. That's hilarious. Isn't it funny how this world is so big, but also just so small at the same time? All right. Let's see what else we got. We got something called BANKRCOIN. Let's go look at that. BANKR. Coin. That's for Gert, aka Two Cats. What's up, buddy? Nice to see you coming over from the Discord to hang out in the live stream today. And if you guys, if you're enjoying the stream, do smash up the like button, share it with your friends. We bring this fire every week on Monday, covering Bitcoin, Ethereum, and your altcoin requests. We're about to move into your altcoin requests right now, just writing them down. Next chart request is Pixel from Marco. Got that written down, sir. What else do we got? FARTBOY from Apex. How are you, man? Haven't seen you in a while. What's up, Apex? How are you, buddy? Oh, and Bitcoin Dominance. You got it, man. Bitcoin dominance isn't something I typically look at, but we will definitely do it today for you, my friend, because it is part of the recipe, is it not? Does anybody know what the Bitcoin dominance recipe is to create an alt season? If you know that, put it in the chats. Let's see who gets it right first. All right, BANKRCOIN's on the daily time frame. Good to know on the daily, sir. I got that detail. Let me write that down. All right. You guys are so funny in the chats. If I missed any charts, guys, do pop them down lower so I don't miss them. I do apologize. I'm trying to go as fast as possible to not let you guys hang up. I will just quickly scroll my eyes through here again. I'm not the best at reading, so I may miss your chart request. Oh, HBAR and XDC. Now I see it, sir. XDC. Those are for Marco. Thank you, dudes. My bad on missing your charts. If I missed anybody else's charts, please just do type them down below and I will revisit them. Yes? All right, let's move into your chart request. The very first one we are going to cover today is going to be JASMY. Let me get a sip of the latte to keep this thing going because I'm running out of steam, boys. Let's look at this first here on a weekly. We talked about this in the last stream about JASMY, its weekly targets and why. Goodness, I keep using the wrong tool. And why our targets were placed up as a good movement towards the upside. This has to do with the prior move being 5 waves. Yes, so let's just delete everything so we can see clearly what may or may not be going on here. And we can understand where hard invalidation is for this scenario. Yes, so for all the spot traders, the thing to understand is every trade you take has to have an invalidation point. Let's check this low, 292. 295. Just want to make sure we get the actual lows here. So 292 is your hard invalidation point. We have made quite a hell of a retracement already, right? We've on linear retraced past 90%. Now, I like linear for predicting the extension targets to the upside, but when we're measuring this local retracement, I do take note that JASMY has held the 786, gang. So it's something bullish to note. That's typical in a potential wave 2 or some sort of corrective motion, right? So if it is corrective, oftentimes it will come down to the 1 through 1.382. But lately this cycle, we've seen them holding the 786 on the extensions, not the retracements. So do note that. So be aware, that's why we're bullish on JASMY. The main reason you're bullish is because you have a prior movement up of around 2,000%. As someone who made 1,400% on PEPE last cycle, I can tell you making 2,000% is very doable. So a risk to reward analysis here is what we're most concerned with. And I don't know about you guys, but the spot position off the 786 was where it was going to be key for you. Let's move this up for a stop loss. You're going to notice this is quite wide as a spot trade, but you're hoping to mitigate risk as it moves up or take some off the table, right? Either way is a way to reduce risk. So let's go to linear so we can talk about the targets to the upside. Yes? Those are done using extensions or trend-based fib extensions from the low to the high of the sequence to the low, or the potential low, we should say. Yes? We only look for what? The 1 through 1.382, and at a minimum, likely to take this high. The other thing that traders want to notice is that that high was made on bullish order flow or a green candle. Yes? The other thing that we like to notice is what went on with the liquidity in that zone, right? So from wick to wick, placing a box over the displacement left behind, you can see that the 50% liquidity left behind on the weekly is perfectly in line with the one line extension and the next resistance that we would expect for JASMY to the upside. That's 1,000% gain. That's really, really amazing stuff. So something to be considering on JASMY is that we may see that move to the upside. So as a spot trader, I'm staying focused on the weekly. I'm staying focused on holding on and just watching how price action progresses. Now, we will try to zoom in here on JASMY to see does that bring us any clarity, right? Because we've talked a couple times about what structures we need to see towards the upside on any coin for us to begin to get bullish, right? There's two patterns we look for. Do you remember them? 1-2 stacking, leading to reversal and displacement, 3-4 stackings, and a final fifth, or a traditional easy reversal with a nice 5 waves up, right? The thing to remember is this displacement that's created with the 5 waves within the wave 3 is what's also known as 1-2 stacking, right? And you're just looking for equality of each wave 2 to give an expansion of the same size at the tops, right? So you got getting smaller or wedging in and getting wider and wedging outwards at the tops, leading to one more displacing leg, right? So this is our two scenarios that we're looking for here on JASMY on the lower time frames. When we look at JASMY through some classical analysis lenses and we place a retracement from high to the low, we can see that we've made a 90% retracement, right? Typically, that's a corrective high that's likely to be taken out. You can also see the prior high was made on bullish order flow, right? And when we're here on a daily, that aligns really well with the internal fair value gap on the daily that's sitting here left behind, right? You just got money just sitting. You would take the external liquidity left behind and move into the internal, right? I would say I would be biased towards getting that leg towards the upside on JASMY. Now, I will tell you what makes me slightly bearish on it also, because we got to have two paths. The reason that I get slightly bearish on JASMY is that this leg that was created towards the upside is in a 3-wave motion, right? 3 waves, one up, one down, one up. That is typically not a strong start to something. Usually it makes it a W or an A, right? And an Elliott wave, if it was a W, happy days, right? Great. If it's an A, we have a problem. If it was an A, the problem is that you haven't made a retracement of 90% yet. So if you go from 0 to the highs of your suspected W and A, and you notice, let me get this off the screen, and you notice that you get a 3-wave retracement, that takes quite some time, but it is not hitting 90% like this one did. You have to start to side with the what if that's an X, right? Now, because this first leg may have been a zigzag, and you might have an ABC down, you could be looking for another zigzag towards the upside. The common target box on this is the 1 through 1.236, right? And that's in a Y leg. So right now we're still just being patient and watching price action, but staying locally, I think, bullishly biased. And I'll show you why. We have another, we get all that stuff off the screen. We have another 888 retracement here from high to low. When you hit that 90% level, it's likely to expand. If it expanded there, you're going to hit the neighbors 90% retracement, right? Again, biasing you to expand and take the highs and move into the internal fair value gap. So for me on JASMY, I'm staying locally bullishly biased as a spot trader and continuing to hold on to my coins on that, right? There's a lot of trolls that like to say, well, because you say Bitcoin could go down, that means you're not positioned. No, I'm just very fluid and open to all paths, right? So I do own spot. It's not the biggest holdings that I came up on, right? But I own spot and some coins, and we'll talk about them if they're brought up during the stream. But overall, JASMY's got me bullishly biased. So let me know if you have questions over JASMY, and let's keep rolling. All right. Man, the chats are on fire. I wish I could be in there talking. Oh, look who nailed the answer. Gert. Gert gave us, in the chats, guys, you'll see it. Gert gave us the perfect answer to the recipe that you look for, altcoins pumping, right? And that is Bitcoin dominance Bitcoin dominance is dropping while Bitcoin's price is going up, right? In that scenario, oftentimes those altcoins will get jiggy with it. They'll pump, yeah? Another thing why we're here on the JASMY chart is these rounding upward motions. They often end up giving us that push to the upside. All right, let's go look at this BANKRCOIN. This is not something I've ever looked at before. Oh, it's on Coinbase. All right. So there isn't a ton of history here. In my opinion, that looks most like an ABC towards the upside, my friend. This looks like a three-wave motion, right? I would be biased to stick with an ABC on it. Let's see if we got an older chart. Banker, USDT maybe. When charts look like this, it's often not something that I want to get involved in. So it looks like this the best we get. So for me, I'm going ABC. I'm not really interested in this coin. I would just let it go about its business. After a strong ABC to the upside like that, I would be biased to say it likely makes another low. I would have no interest in this one. I would just move on for now. It's not a strong setup. By a strong setup in Elliott wave, what I'm referring to is we have two entry strategies. What starts with 5, ends with 5, right? So then you get a connector, and you clone, essentially, clone this leg, because what starts with 5 ends with 5. So as you can see, we have a leg, a connector, and a partner leg. That is Elliott wave, right? This is the most common movement in Elliott wave. Extension of this leg is often when we find wave 3s and often when we talk about impulsivity or reversal points, right? So as you can see this same thing mimics itself here. Likely 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a leg, a connector, and a partner leg. Yes? Everything's going to look like this. Let's add some extensions to this. Often, 80% of the time, they will stop around the 1 through 1.382. 10% of the time-ish, they'll give you a C wave that gets up higher. This is cryptocurrencies. And a small sliver of the time, if this B wave is made in a triangle, we'll see that C wave pull a shallow pull. Yes? So something to be aware of. But not a coin I'd be interested in. All right, let's go look at Pixel. Again, not something I often look at. Nice reversal off the lows. Why this is a hard chart for Elliott wave is going to be because of this wick, right? Whenever you have a wick like this and then you come up off of it and retrace 90%, the bias is to take these lows, right? I would not invest a lot of myself into this chart on Pixel due to this movement that we see off the lows and it ending on high volume. I am biased to say that this is nothing but an ABC, right? Though it is absolutely crazy and far past common extensions, it ends on high volume. It never gave you a wave 4 in the middle followed by a successive 5, leading to more so of a 3-wave motion than an actual 5-wave motion, right? So we're lacking this right there. Yes? So my bias is I wouldn't touch this just yet. I wouldn't be wanting to get part of it. If you wanted to be super risky, someone could try to mess about here. Poof, that is ugly. Again, this looks like to me another three-wave start to something. I wouldn't be super interested, honestly. These chopping, grinding patterns aren't usually the best start to something. Now, if you want to be a bull, you would have to say it's a diagonal, which is going to be rare, but 3 up, 3 down. Let's see if you can even make it happen. 3 up, 3 down, 3 up, right? And you would still be looking for this to give the last leg down. If you wanted to be super risk averse, if that's even the right wording, I would place a retracement fib from low to high. And I would say no interest until it gets to the 786. I would see, is this kind of in line with the extension swing of 1 through 1.382? You would get me to take this as a trade with hard invalidation. I would enter a rounds here, and I would look for that. Now, could you get a higher entry at the 786? Maybe, but it's all about mitigating risk and invalidation points. Right, so you're going to need to manage your position sizing based upon invalidation, right? So something I would look for on Pixel would be something like this. If this is to be the start of a motion, its partner leg is another 50%. So do you need to enter with leverage here? No. This would be a great spot trade, really good spot trade for me, I think, on Pixel. So I would set an alarm at 0.00694, or the 702 level that you could see on the screen as a nice round number at 0.007. And I would try to find a trade on Pixel if it allows. Yes? All right, Pixel is all done. Let's keep on rolling. The next thing that we have in our chart requests looks like FARTBOY, and that comes in from Apex. Great point, Apex on the Bitcoin Dominance, sir. Good job on that. We would be looking for Bitcoin's price to go up while the dominance is going down to see that result in the altcoins. Great point. I got your chart for PEPE written down. Endy. What else we got here in the chats? Gert, if you would like, pop it in the Discord and I will go look at it for you on Blowfin, sir. I just want to keep the stream rolling at this point. All right, so everything on Pixel. Let's move into FARTBOY. Do I have any FARTBOY fans in the house today? Sorry, trying to put something in the chat. All right, let's keep on going. I'll go use my watch list real quick. Did Bitcoin, did she hold? Ooh, she's trying. She's trying, boys. She is trying. Man, it's close. You need that step up. Come on now. All right. Again, this was hard invalidation for the bulls of this being a three-wave motion, right? So bulls really don't want to see 76, 630 lost. If it can be held, these bulls are going to be able to give you a nice displacing leg that will likely end around $77,300. All right. I got some FARTBOY people in the house. Let's go talk about FARTBOY. I'm still bullish on it. I've seen a lot of great reactions from the accumulation box. It was labeled an accumulation box for a reason. If it's lost, we'll talk about the problems. We'll talk about all these red lines on the chart. But in the end, all of this stuff will be critical for you on FARTBOY to understand the roadmap moving forward. Again, on a daily, this is a three-wave motion up. This is not an impulse, right? Because of that, we have to tell ourselves, best case scenario, we're looking at an A into a B wave, and at some point creating a C that's made in an ending diagonal or a classic impulse. The ending diagonal would look like 3 up, 3 down, 3 up, 3 down, 3 up. it would wedge in on itself, creating an ending contracting diagonal. Another classic way to see the C wave built is 1 into 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now, we'll go zoom in here on price action, but I would like to say, from my blind eye, you can tell, guys, so far this is another 3-wave start, right? You never took the low of the pivot. You form a leg up, correction down, partner leg up. Because of that, it's a 3-wave motion. You're forming a connector here. What happens to the upside is what's important next. Do we get 3 more? And a pull down. If FARTBOY can form that pivot, I would buy spot hard because I know it's over here, right? It not only is aligning my bias of upside with structure, the Fibonacci targets, it has multiple confluences giving us that leg to the upside if invalidation can hold. And to be honest with you at this point, excuse my click here, let me fix that. To be honest with you at this point, I would rather move invalidation up to protect my profits, right? So I truly don't want to see us come down to 90% retracements so far, right? So to protect my accumulation, I'm going to measure from the lows to the highs with a retracement. And if at any point this 90% level, my goodness, this 90% level is hit, that's going to be my invalidation for those holdings. That comes in around 0.007051. Until then, I'm staying bullishly biased, right? So my average accumulation was the middle of the box. My invalidation point is beautifully placed, 3.4% away at this point. Excuse me. And we're looking for a 39% gain on FARTBOY still, if not more, right? I'm very open to being wrong and saying it gives the 60% return on investment. But for right now, I have to stay biased on the roadmap ahead of me. Right, now let's talk about all these red lines on the chart and what they mean for FARTBOY. These red lines were put on as old resistances from the falling wedge, just shot over as horizontal rays. You can see old resistances from the falling wedge becoming new resistances to price action as price action pushed upward, yes? What FARTBOY is looking to do now is build strength off the top of the accumulation zone and make another run off of that accumulation zone for an average 30% return on investment. Yes? So it is a hard drive away, but it's very possible. Yes? So stay locked in, FARTBOY fans. Don't give up on your project just yet. You got to have some follow through on Bitcoin, right? All right, let's go look at Bitcoin dominance. Really quickly, this is not something I analyze often. It's really not something that I look at besides a basic fib retracement. What I don't like so far is that the Bitcoin dominance, when taken as a trend from low to high, has only found the 0.236 retracement. That's abnormal. The usual first level we look for is the 382. And the most common level is to get into this golden pocket 702 area, right? You can also tell that there was a breakout from back here in which we left a displacing area, right? For right now, my main concern on Bitcoin dominance is to see how this leg to the upside is made. If it starts to break that high, it's likely going to push through the displacing area left behind and the old highs. But there is a chance, right, because of how this leg was formed to the downside, that you may see another partner leg to the downside to get us to the minimum 54%, if not 50%. Now, if you can get Bitcoin's price to go down while Bitcoin dominance goes down, there's a chance that you could see your altcoins stabilize and not take as hard of a hit as Bitcoin hits, right? We just got to keep all these things in mind, okay? All right. But remember, guys, again and again and again, the perfect recipe for upside is going to be Bitcoin. Let me see if I can make it. Get on there. It's going to be Bitcoin price. Oopsies. It's been a while since I've drawn on two different screens. Give me 1 second. The perfect recipe for an altcoin season is to watch for, let's delete everything, is to watch for Bitcoin dominance to go down while Bitcoin's price goes up, right? So Bitcoin dominance down, Bitcoin price up. Altcoins give you an alt season. Without that recipe, don't expect it, right? So all the assholes online telling you it's going to happen, they're likely just selling you, snake oil. All right. Until we get that recipe, we don't get the reversal. We have an hour on the 4 hour. Whoo-wee, baby. I want you to know we took longs in the Discord, and we managed them with a very tight stop loss. I don't know. Is anybody in here from the Discord that rode the long this morning on Bitcoin off these lows? All right. So far, it hasn't broke the highs yet. Let's see where we're at on a high here from low to high. Almost to the 90%. Damn near licked it. So it might, but the bias here is that Bitcoin does take that high, right? So my bias is that once we hit the 90% is to move into that expansion. The other thing to remember is if we start to move up, you could be creating a little bit of an Aunt Judy's booty here. Little butt cheeks, right? Breaks through the W or the butt cheek crack top and moves towards the technical target, which is to fill this displacing area. At that point, I would likely TP some of my trade, right? So as a biased person here trading Bitcoin, I was looking for a long. Now we can form our next pivot for our interactions with our trend-based fibs. I was looking for a long into that displacing area. So now I can not only see the displacing area, which is made from wick to wick and closed up on bullish order flow, leaving behind an internal fair value gap. So I'm biased on Bitcoin into that zone, and we're going to likely, I will take my TPs around 77,138 to 77,197, right? If we start to get more, or we start to really displace, which we'll be able to tell more by placing a base channel like we learned earlier in the stream from low to high, we'll know more. Right now you're battling the center line and the gateway drug. You must get above those first. Now if price action on green volume can break out of the channel, find support on the channel and push up, we have got an amazing trade coming here in the future with easy invalidation, right? But for right now, I'm locked into a scalp on the micro and just watching that. So now this is now my stop loss. It's in profits for me and the team that we've been watching. And let's move on to the next chart. HBAR is the next chart. Again, guys, we talk about this every week. I am not bullish on HBAR. It is unfortunate. I want to be. This is ISO 222 coin. I personally don't see much about it that gets me excited. We'll talk about the why really quickly. On the daily, you can see what is made really clearly. This is the main issue I'm finding with many charts. A somewhat three-wave motion off the lows on HBAR. Now, in Elliott wave, nothing strong really starts with a three-wave motion. Now, we could try to go lie to ourselves and say, you know what, Surf, something else is going on here, man. There's actually an impulse in here, right? I doubt it. But that would mean you're saying this is that impulse to the upside. I don't think that's true. I think it's a corrective motion. In my opinion, if you're lucky, it will continue to correct upward based upon the prior three waves. But man, right? Like this would be a really long X. It's likely not a B wave because it never reached 90%. My main concern is that this was the correction upward and at some point HBAR is going to get bad news and displace downwards. I am not an HBAR bull. I have not been in a very long time. Nothing about it has really been bullish, right? Look at this movement here on the daily. Again, what does this look like? Three-wave motion, right? They fueled her up with enough volume to make the displacing section. Then volume goes ahead and diverges as it moves into the highs, and RSI diverges as it moves into the highs, all while creating a daily hidden bear divergence, right? So overall, not bullish here on HBAR. I don't own any, and I have no real ambition to get interested in any as of now. Maybe later. All right, let's go look at XDC. This is not something I look at all the time. So again, bear with me as we try to find a best chart here. You got good volume at 22.8 mil. At some point, we did a whole lot of fucking guessing here. Let's figure out why. All right, so again, this is something we've talked about a lot in this stream, is three-wave motions towards the upside that end on high volume. Likely being what? An ABC. Yes? Little divergence on volume, little divergence on the RSI. I say that because we can see higher closures on price action, lower closures on RSI and volume. When that occurred, that was a momentum divergence within an ABC, right? So because of this, we start to look for a connector and form a potential next trade to the upside. Now, at this point, these are the maps we're waiting on, right? You're either waiting for a C or a Y to give a partner leg for these first legs that started in a three-wave motion, if you are lucky. Now, let's look at time from low to high. You can see we're past the 382. You knew this was not the end of the correction because it was well before it. So for right now, I don't own any of this. With it coming past the 786 and starting to build candles under it, I look to the 90% retracement, if not a push into the expansion zone from 0.01230 to 0.00910. That would be an expanded B wave. It would be the most common thing to see happen here before that C wave to the upside. I lean away from this as an X wave for right now, unless we form an immediate reversal. The reason why is because we've already expanded down past the 702 retracement that we can see on the screen that I had a duplicate of. And we are building that resistance under the 786. So really not interested in that one. All right, let's keep the altcoin party going. That was XDC. Let's move into PEPE. I am an owner of PEPE. I like to be really honest with you guys. I'm playing this as a W bottom, but pairing up for a hopeful larger reversal if it is to come. So here on the daily, what I'm looking at is a W potential bottom forming within a range where you can see differing bottoms, one side being sharp and the other side kind of an accumulation style. Now, this trade doesn't come to fruition until we break the neckline or the top of the crack of Aunt Judy's booty, right? Until we can get a daily candle closure over this million zeros 402 level, we cannot say it's a real trade yet. Now, if you're mitigating your losses, which I will be doing, I'm going to take a retracement from low to high so far. I'm not going to allow this to start to lose the 0.5 on me, and I'm just going to be watching it as a spot trader, right? So far, there's not really something I'm looking for leverage on PEPE, right? My main concern would be that it gives one more leg to the downside before that movement up, right? So right to kind of that danger zone that I'm watching. So that's my next area of interest as a spot trader. If it gives it and we start to form divergences and things are looking good, maybe it gives us the next leg to the upside, but we'll have to be watching. I already own some spots, so I'm just going to keep holding on to that PEPE spot and keep looking for that 26% target for right now. Again, when you make these spot purchases at DCA, make sure you're making a small one. Make sure you're not making massive purchases. This way, if your trade goes bad on you, right, you don't have to take a massive hit. You take a hit that you're comfortable with. All right. What is the next chart? Bang, bang, bang. We got from Alexis. How are you? Alexios. Alexios. That's a cool name. WLD. You got it, dude. How are you, by the way? I think it's the first time I've ever seen you in one of the streams. Nice to see you. Nice to meet you. Ricky Rodriguez. Is this Ricky from Twitter by chance? Hope you're doing well. If so, good to see you in the live stream. All right. Fuck. I look like a pro at 2 screens. I look like a monkey fumbling a football, as they would say. Any hooser. So, a little bit of snake oil. Yeah, HBAR does not look good, dude. All right. Let's move on into the next chart, which is that WLD chart. And that looks like it will be our last chart request as of now. Ooh, it is on Coinbase. Let's look here first. Right now, I would say just fast look at this. I'm biased to new lows on WLD or WorldCoin. The reason why is because you've hit the 99% retracement nearly. With that occurring, I would say the forever downtrend likely continues. Let's go see if we can find an older chart of WLD coin. Likely looks like it's just going to continue to fall downhill. As you can see here, this is a leg, a connector, and a partner leg here in the middle. Like that, bada bang. I wonder if they ended on high volume. Look at this. Look at this. These bastards used you as their exit liquidity. Right there. Okay, Alex? Exit liquidity. 3-wave push into the highs. Rejects on high volume. They screwed over people, man. This is a really hard one to want to be involved in, right? You don't have a lot to go off of. You're already at the lows of inception and 90%. At this point, WorldCoin is likely to be a total loss, right? Maybe save it for a tax harvest. I can't give financial advice, but that would be hard for me to want to hold on to, my dude. Sorry for the bad news. All right. Your kids are on speed, Marco. Hell yeah. How many kids do you have again, Marco? Man, it is. I have 5 kids, and I tell you what, when they get zooming around the house, sometimes it gets overwhelming very quickly. We got baby number 6 on the way currently. Baby number 6 is supposed to be born in September. Very excited for that. We'll see. It is a big roadmap. We'll see how it works out moving forward. It's kind of like price action, right? It keeps you on the edge of your seat. It is amazing. Well, guys, that's everything that I have here for you in the stream today. I appreciate all of you coming. Again, if you enjoyed the stream, please smash the like button. Again, we're here every single Monday covering Bitcoin, Ethereum, and your altcoin requests. If you need anything moving forward, go ahead and reach out. You can find me easy on Twitter or in my Discord. See you guys next Monday.